Hello everyone, we welcome you all to this Week Tech Tuesday webinar on Informatica IDMC Release Insights, May 2025. Today's speakers are Vikesh and Shweta from GCS team. Before we start the session, let's go through some of the housekeeping tips. The webinar is scheduled for 1 hour that includes 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in Q&A box which will be answered at the end of the presentation. All participants will be muted during the presentation. The session will be recorded and it will be available on our success portal where you can also download the slide deck. Please feel free to submit your suggestion or feedback for this session in the post-webinar survey. The Success Portal is a micro-learning platform that offers free, unlimited learning to all the registered users. This feature-rich platform helps you learn and adopt to Informatica products better. The following are few important links that you can go over later. This will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Vikesh and Shweta. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the quick introduction. We'll quickly start off here. Going to the agenda quick. We'll go through the different IDMC releases. The IDMC releases planned for 2025, the pre-release and its importance and steps to be taken there, the different notifications that send for IDMC releases and other notifications, few important links, and then finally Q&A. Firstly, on the IDMC releases, so we have different release cycles throughout the year. Every release is a new cloud service version that's spun out. It's new innovations, product features that is being pushed out in a release, and this is carried out throughout the year. The annual schedule is published well in advance in the network portal. So for the calendar year of 2025, you must have seen, the schedule was published already in January, and same happens for every year. We have different release types. So there are 3 release types, and each release or each of those types has its distinct change scopes, what goes in those releases. There is patch, standard, and major. Specifically, what goes in each of these, we will call out in the next slides. We have a pre-release phase. Pre-release phase is nothing but a separate pod that gets upgraded before the launch of the production pods, which is where you have your orgs for production that's running. This allows testing of new features and changes. It allows you to check any potential impacts, move your critical assets and run and make sure they are ready for the release and there is no impact on those. It gives you an assurance that things will run after the release or so. The deployment schedule. So deployment schedule varies for different release types. And normally it is a rolling basis. We have multiple pods in IDMC. So all those pods are not created at one shot. It is split into 2 to 3 weeks. The schedule varies per pod as mentioned. So, and these details are added into the events page and status page. Next is runtime continuity. Runtime continuity is nothing but allowing the customers and users to have a seamless upgrade, right? Without interruption to your running jobs. The job schedules can still continue running even during the release. The functionality allows nothing to be stopped and services to be up and running. Not all services support runtime continuity. All the details on those specifics are called out in the release readiness docs. Some services support flexible upgrade. We will talk about that in detail for those specific services too. Next, getting into IDMC types of releases. As mentioned earlier, we have patch, standard, and major release, and the scope of changes for each release varies. As you see here, patch release is light. It has only security fixes and bug fixes. Standard release has what is going in patch as well as some functionality and feature changes. And then major obviously touches everything. Everything under the scope is part of major release, and even major release has a UI downtime, right? But you still have the administrative page and the monitor page for DI up and running, so that you'll be able to monitor and see if your agent's up and running as well as your jobs running fine or not. More details are, as mentioned again, it's a release readiness docs. Um, and in any changes, any scope of changes or any cancellation of releases will be announced earlier. And those are things that might happen as and when it's required. Quick a cycle on the patch release. This is how the cycle looks like. Pre-release is upgraded a day before the first set of pods. All the pods are split into 2-week schedule, um, and it happens on weekdays. As mentioned earlier, patch releases includes bug fixes, security patches, no UI downtime, no change behaviors. The deployment window is 4 hours for patch releases. And release FAQ is normally not updated, and it will be in case if there is anything else that needs to be notified specifically for the patch release. Otherwise, it is not. Events and status page is updated for notifications. Next, standard release. This is how the cycle for standard release looks like. The pre-release pod is upgraded a day before the first set of pods. It is divided into 3-week schedule. So all the IDMC pods split into different weeks and split into 3 weeks. Happens on weekdays. It includes bug fixes, security patches, EBFs, and minor feature enhancements. No UI downtime. There is a deployment window of 4 hours, and the release FAQ is updated constantly with all details. Also, even the status page is updated for notifications. Next is on major release. So for major releases, this is how the cycle for a major release looks like. Pre-release is upgraded 3 weeks before the first set of pods. The major release is divided into 3-week schedule across all the IDMC pods, and it happens on weekends. IDMC UI will be partially down during the deployment window. And as mentioned earlier, runtime continuity for support services comes into play here. Right? Jobs will continue to run wherever runtime continuity is supported. The deployment window is normally 3 hours, and the release FAQ is always updated with constantly with details and issues or anything that is found, and any details that you need to be aware of. Events and status page is updated for notifications. Emails are also sent out to all users announcing the major release. As mentioned, it's a major release, so we want to make sure everybody is well informed and well aware of the release. That is why we have notifications for that also go out. CDGC releases happen after the 3rd week. So after all the pods are upgraded, then is when the CDGC product release comes into play. And CDGC is one of the service and products that supports flexible upgrade window. And same with CDI PC is also something that supports kind of a flexible upgrade, which we will talk about in detail. All right. Next, as mentioned, the flexible upgrade for CDGC. So as mentioned earlier, some IDMCs allows administrator to initiate an upgrade for their orgs during the flexible upgrade window. These are the services that come under CDGC that support this. So in this option, the cloud operations team will release the deployments to the pods on the dates that's listed on the events calendar for CDGC upgrade, which is after the 3rd week, right, of the major releases. The notifications after this, the notifications appear on the Meta Command Center, and the administrators of each in that particular organization must upgrade within the flexible window, which is 6 weeks. You can upgrade the non-prod environments first to run the validations and make sure everything looks good and everything is good. Then we can, you guys can do the production org upgrades consequently. After the 6 weeks, the mandatory upgrade kicks in. So any orgs that's not upgraded within 6 weeks, it'll be automatically updated. And those specific dates will also be published in the status page and events. For further details on in depth on how this works and what all are the nuances and characteristics, please refer to the release readiness talk. Next, on the CDI PC mandatory update option. The secure agents in CDI PC for IDMC orgs receive all the package updates with every major release, right? Major release as well as standard release. But the mandatory updates need a domain update, and this occurs only twice a year, which is in April and October major releases. The updates are available once the IDMC pod release is complete. Again, this is with the 3-week window, not the CDGC part. It is before that, the 3 weeks that we spoke about. And the customers can schedule updates or start them manually from the domain details page in CDIPC. There is a 90-day grace period provided for the mandatory updates. And the deadline obviously is after the 90-day dates. So you need to make sure you have the domains, everything upgraded before the 90 days grace period. The domains that are not updated by the deadline becomes an obsolete state and might cause some operational disruptions. So we recommend always that, use the 90 days and have things running before that. Same sequence can be done of doing the non-prods first and then the production. For more details, you can refer to the CDIPC release readiness guide. Next, quickly jumping into the releases scheduled for 2025. I know this is already May, so we already have completed a few releases, but we just quickly run through. Feb is already done, the major release. April major release is also completed. We are in between the May standard release right now. After that, we have the July major release. After that, we had August standard release scheduled, but would like you let you know that the August standard release is cancelled. So after the July major, the next release is going to be the October major release. And after that, we had November standard release scheduled, but the November standard release is also cancelled for platform and DI and CN, the major platform products, except MDM and CDGC, right, as of now. But any changes will be notified through the events page on those releases. The CDGC release dates are specifically not mentioned here. That is called out in the events page. So please do refer the events page for CDGC release dates. Next, pushing into the pre-release, right? So pre-release is pretty important and an avenue where you can test out the release, make sure everything for your specific environment looks well and good. The IDMC platform portfolio has a lot of services and products which can be used in multiple different ways. So this avenue the pre-release avenue gives you an option to test out things beforehand so that you can catch any issues or make sure you're ready for the release. So it's very critical for testing. The major releases specifically, as mentioned, it's available 3 weeks prior to the first set of pods. For standard and patch release, it's 1 day prior. From environment setup perspective, so the pre-release pod environment is totally different. You will need to set it up separately. It does not automatically have all the assets, so you will need to move the important assets or any assets that you need into that org as part of your SDLC. So users must import all assets, and the best scenario is to keep your pre-release as close as your production environment, so that you have everything ready up and running there, and you can just quickly run a test there whenever it's required. And again, it's always, if not everything, at least we want to make sure that you have all your crucial tasks and workflows set up in pre-release, so that the functionalities are properly tested, and also, any change in behaviors is also caught in and come to know beforehand, before the release or production. For any issues for pre-release, again, pre-release, we take it very seriously. The reason why we have pre-release is also to make sure that if there is anything of customization that you have, which we need to make sure that is caught, and fixes are gone into the pods before the actual production release. So any issues that is identified during the pre-release phase is taken with top priority, and fixes get rolled out quickly before the production release. The access and resources for pre-release. Access to pre-release participation is available through IDMC assurance package. So if you have IDMC assurance package license edition, you get pre-release as part of it. If not, if you were having the IPU edition, you can have that as an additional org, and the license is based on one additional org for pre-release. For the list of services involved in pre-release, again, not all services are onboarded on pre-release, but majority of them which has impact on runtime continuity or runtime services and jobs is part of pre-release. All those are available in the pod availability networking page. Next, we'll go through assurance service. I'll hand it over to Shweta to run you through that.
Thank you, Vikesh. Let's go over the assurance service. Assurance service, it's a service that helps simplify the upgrade process as well as understand which assets are impacted in your organization. It also provides an ability for the health check as well as some of the metadata information that you can query in a click of a button. So as I mentioned, it includes an upgrade analysis feature where you will be running through that feature, and the feature will let you know what assets are likely to be impacted due to a current upgrade, right? Then it will also allow the users to create regression test suites and deploy those assets into the pre-release environment within a click of a button. And once the pre-release is upgraded, the assets can be tested, and you can get an assurance that these assets are not impacted by the release upgrade. So this is an example of the upgrade analysis UI, where a user has run an upgrade analysis, and as you can see, it is on a specific task or a specific asset. The analysis has been run, and associated to that release or the upgrade schedule, it is showing that the recommendation is to go ahead and perform a general sanity test because there are some connector enhancements. And this is an example of a Google BigQuery V2 connector where some of the packages are getting upgraded as part of a bug fix for that release. So this is a kind of the analysis that we get once the upgrade analysis feature has been executed, and within a click of a button, this can be deployed onto the pre-release environment for further testing. Here is the link to the detailed instructions on using the assurance package. And also another link on how to leverage the upgrade analysis feature, which is also presented to you through a YouTube video. And more details on the assurance service itself is available in our knowledge management system. Coming on to the next topic, that's the modes of notification. There are multiple modes of notification, such as status page, events, in product notification, and emails curated to specific orgs. So let's go through one by one. So status page has the majority of the updates going through, be it incidents, maintenances. When it comes to maintenance, it can be a patch or infrastructure maintenance, and all the releases, major, standard, or patch release. Events will be the infrastructure maintenance, and the release cycles will be updated in the events page. In-product notification is currently provided for major release and standard release. The emails will be sent for major release, and if there is any potential impact end user has to take action upon, it will be through an email notification. Please note that these notification systems or the modes is subjected to change and will be notified to you if there are any such changes. Coming on to the first one, that's the status page. Informatica status page is available at status.informatica.com. This is how the status page is visible to the end user. So this serves as a hub for communicating any important activities, maintenances, incidents, release cycles, or an infrastructure update. This serves as a transparent medium, and by providing real-time information about the health and services of IDMC. It also keeps users informed about any of the operational statuses of all the operational statuses of the services that is offered in order to reduce any uncertainty. We recommend customers or the end users to subscribe to the status page for the specific services and the components they leverage in order to receive any updates that's been posted. And here is a link on how to subscribe or unsubscribe to the status page to get the latest updates for the services. Coming on to the events. Events page is available at informatica.network.com, and it provides comprehensive overview of all the upcoming scheduled events. It can be releases or any maintenance. So events, all the events are added to the calendar at the beginning of each year, so that the end users can plan their activities or any maintenances or release cycles based on IDMC schedule. Also, they are added continuously as and when the details become available. The next type of notification is in-product notification. This is the notification when an end user receives as soon as they log into the IDMC org. A pop-up will show up once a user lands onto the org. And these are curated timely according to the release, be it standard release or major release. And along with that, the curation is specific to the pod or the org along with the release schedule. As informed earlier, this is mainly for major standard and few updates, infrastructure updates. This is one such example where end user will receive if a release and a release or a pre-release is approaching, right? They will get a notification that it's going to be upgraded, and they have a 3-week time to explore all the assets and validate them in the pre-release environment. Some other in-product notification are the end-of-life Secure Agent OS, where the system, as soon as you land onto the runtime environments page, you see a notification that the support for Red Hat 7 will be end of life. The next is the email notification. Emails, all the emails sent by Informatica will be from these two email addresses. The scope of this will is to all the users of a given IDMC org. We don't differentiate between any of the users or their roles, and it will be sent to all the IDMC users. Some of the categories are the major release, as you can see, the major release notification sent. Some important announcements or the alerts on the service and platform changes, and some alerts or actions that require um, additional action to be taken on the behavior changes. These will be the targeted communication whenever any action has to be taken, and we limit these emails to the orgs only with potential impacts. But at times, there could be possibility that an email is sent to all the orgs. This is to ensure that everyone is well informed about any changes that's affecting them. This is such an example of a targeted communication where the emails were sent to all the users having JDBC or ODBC connectors, the Microsoft SQL Server connectors, where there was an upgrade on the JDBC ODBC driver. And any action that was required by the end user for any testing required was documented and sent across. I would like to pass on to Vikesh now for additional email notification features.
All right, thank you, Shweta. So quickly on email notifications, as Shweta mentioned earlier, the two email addresses from which you get emails for any notifications on releases and impacts that is sent from Informatica. So we had request earlier from customers on having opt-out feature for from these emails. Currently, it was only for sent to all users in the org. So we have the opt-out functionality for critical email notifications introduced and available in the product starting April 2025 release. The users can go to the user profile settings, and this will take them to the categories, the notification categories, which would be showing up like this. And you need to go to the critical notifications category for any of the emails that we just spoke about in the last slide. Again, just summarizing the same thing, the critical administrative alerts that we saw here is specifically for notifications relevant to administrators to ensure service availability. Few examples are like pod IP address changes. So example, this is one example of an email that was sent a few weeks back on additional IP addresses being added for CI application on the load balancer, right? So any customers who do IP whitelisting on their load balancers or on their network would need to add these IP addresses. Otherwise, the server's availability is impacted, right? So these kind of notifications come under the critical administrative alerts. Similarly, also end of life. This is example of a Red Hat end of life, Red Hat 7 end of life notification that was sent. The next is critical event alerts. These are nothing but release announcements. This is an example of anything on release reminders or completions, those kind of announcements that is being sent. The next is proactive notifications. These are mainly any release impacts, new features, or change in behaviors that we proactively reach out to make sure you're aware, or if any changes that needs to be done on your side. So this is an example of a change in behavior with persistent cache in the April release, post-April release, which was sent out. This comes under the proactive notification category. Same thing with the dynamic trace impact we had in February and April releases. Product notifications sent so that you got your agents are up and running and you take the necessary actions beforehand. So this is how the subcategories that come in here. All these options, any opt-out you do uh, starting now, that is starting after April release, comes into effect or starting the July 2025 release. So any systems, the systems will take into account the opt-out users starting the July release. So starting July releases, if you have opted out from, say, example, critical event alerts, the notification you get for the July release will not come into your email addresses. Again, please note, opting out will disable these critical notifications to you, right? So please be mindful. Users should make the decision thoughtfully, as it may impact their awareness of essential updates, right? So we urge you to cautiously make this decision, and choose choose it wisely, so that you know which notifications you want to get and which you do not want to, right? We do not want to be in a situation where you are not aware of a particular change in behavior because you were opted out from the email notifications. So please be aware of this and choose your options wisely. All right. So that was pretty much it. These are just few important links on terms of what we already spoke about today. The release FAQ link, the release readiness doc, the assurance service to get more details on that. Upgrade release impacts, same thing on assurance service. The events page, status page, how to subscribe, unsubscribe from status page. Support Flash, which is a monthly Support Flash newsletter that is published with a lot of relevant details. And last is the details on notification categorization options, right? The options for opt out, opt in, and what can be done there. Again, please note the notifications by default is opted in for every user. So if you need to opt out, you need to go and manually make that change on your user profile. All right, so that's all we have here. We will get into Q&A right now. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we have now reached the Q&A session. Please submit your questions using the Ask Question option in the menu bar. Over to you, Vikesh and Shweta.
Thanks, Harshita.
All right. I'll take the first question here. The first question, it seems like you only get 3 weeks notice before major releases. If so, that is not a lot of time. What do you do if you find an issue? All right. So 3-week notice is not notice to major release. It is basically the pre-release environment that gets upgraded 3 weeks before the first set of pods, right? The announcements of when the release happens prior to that, at least a month back. And again, we have the events page where the releases for the whole calendar year is already posted out, right? So that is an overview where you can get all the details on what all releases is happening in a year and plan accordingly. All right, and next question, can you cover the IDMC CDI major releases again? Could you opt out of July? No, you cannot. We do not have an option to opt out of any release right now, right? Right now, any releases that go in, it goes on the pod level. So whatever time frame the pod is getting upgraded, your orgs will be upgraded. You do not have an option to opt out.
Okay, I see another question there. Is assurance service upgrade analysis available for both standard and major releases? Yes, it is available for standard release as well. It takes about 24 hours to get the refresh done once the pre-release is upgraded. So users need to wait until the pre-release is upgraded for about 24 hours and start off with the upgrade analysis feature to see if there is any impact.
I can take the next question. How relevant is pre-release? Is it important that we do pre-release testing for releases? Pre-release is very relevant. It is one, I would say it should be part of your SDLC cycle, where when you deploy code, into production or not, or pre-production environments, the similar thing should be deployed into pre-release and have it ready there, so that anytime you have the release, you can just go ahead and test it and make sure things are running fine, right? Again, as mentioned in during the webinar, it's 3 weeks prior the first set of pods are previous upgrades, right? So during the testing, even if you find some issues, we assure that steps are taken to make sure fixes go in before the actual production release happens, right? So it is in that context, as well as context where you can check new features or change in behaviors, and make sure your critical tasks are running without any hindrance during the release or after the release.
I can take the next question. How do we test once the assurance service shows if there is any upgrade impact? So as informed during the session, we do have options to configure the pre-release environment from assurance service. So once you get a notification that if asset is being impacted with the upgrade, then you will be posed with an option to go ahead and migrate it to the pre-release environment. You can just click on those and say deploy to my pre-release, and the asset will be deployed to the pre-release, and you can test it in pre-release, ensuring if there is any impact. And if so, you report it to customer experience team, and we will ensure that it is being taken care of before the major release.
Take the next one. Will information related to the major release impacts be available 1 month prior to the pre-release landing, 3 weeks before the actual release, to plan before the pre-release? So I'm guessing that, in short, you're asking whether impacts will be available a month prior. It will not be available a month prior in assurance package, assurance service, but the release FAQ and what's new documents are available a month before the actual release, which 10 days before the pre-release starts, right? So you would have that in FAQ, you would have that in the what's new documentation that's out for a release, as well as we run impact analysis, like the emails that we spoke about, proactive emails that are sent out for impacts, change in behaviors. Those are also sent, at least a week before the pre-release event starts. All right, I see some questions on FRs. It has been submitted. Is it fixed and all that? Again, please note this is basically on release insights and the process. Any details you need on particular feature request or defects that is filed, please open a support ticket with Informatica support, and they should be able to guide you through. Next question on I see is on the email opt-out. Why is that only July release onwards you are opting out emails? So the feature of opt-out for users on the platform, IDMC platform, was available from April release onwards. And after April release, the next major release we have is July. And major releases is, I would say, the majority of the email notifications that go out. Yes, we do have other notifications go out, but majority are during a major release. So we have to get all the systems in place so that it picks it up and has the details, right details on who was opted in and opted out. So that is the reason why starting July release notifications is where you will see that taking into effect, where you get the emails only if you're opted in. And again, by default, every user is opted in for those notifications. And if you are thinking of opting out from certain email notifications from those categories, please be mindful, thoughtful on what you unsubscribe or opt out of. There are critical information we send so that it receives you and you take the necessary actions to not have a service disruption. And the question on that itself, after July major release, if I do an opt-out, does it take immediate effect? All right, so it's not an immediate effect. Once you do an opt-out, so suppose you do an opt-out right now, and there is an email that is being sent out tomorrow for that particular category, you would still get that email, right? It takes 7 days for the opt-out to reflect on the backend systems. So once you opt out, after that 7 days is when it takes into effect and it is opted out from the system for emails.
Do we have any more questions?
I see there are 2 questions on when will the recording be available. Is the session recorded? The session is recorded and it will be available in the same webinar URL that you have.
All right, we see no questions, so we will end the session. Thank you, Vikesh and Shweta, for presenting today's Tech Tuesday webinar. We request audience to take up survey and give us feedback once this webcast ends. Today's webinar will be available tomorrow on Success Portal under the Resources tab. And also, like Vikesh mentioned, the link will be emailed to you. Thank you all for joining us.